What's up everyone, welcome back to more Reddit stories about entitled people, crazy people, and all that kind of stuff. So as usual, make sure to subscribe for more Reddit content and let's get into today's stories. They kept spamming my email, so I joined their chat. This happened around 10 years ago. I have a very common name in Spanish. My email is first.last@gmail. I have had this email for so long I can't remember. I'm not sure why, but it seems a lot of people don't understand how email works, so I end up receiving their bank statements, bills, etc., always from different people. Their middle names are always different. Anyway, I started receiving meeting notes from this random company, spreadsheets, presentations, etc. I kindly replied to them explaining that they have the wrong email. No one ever listened. One day I get added to a group chat, some discontinued Google product, so I joined the chat. I see they start talking about some customer and start asking questions. I start offering my opinion. I just make it up as I go. Some of my responses are starting to make no sense. Then I just go full on bananas and start telling them they are all idiots for not checking their emails before sending invites. The meeting went silent. I was kicked out of the chat room a second later. I continue to cause some drama by editing the titles of their docs to, "You should seriously double check who you are sharing documents with." I had such a good laugh. They were not very tech savvy as I had access to the files for a while and went back to see them change the titles back. After 2 weeks I got bored and just removed the docs from my drive. Never had an email from them again. Curiously, this situation has happened more than once with different entities. I don't care if he is dead, put him on the phone. My father died on Father's Day 2012. He was divorced and living alone, and I am an only child, so that means that I had to wrap up all of his affairs. The story centers around us trying to get his utilities canceled. I called in to see what we had to do to get them to cancel. The lady I spoke with on the phone said to send in his certified death certificate. I sent in the certified copy of his death certificate the next day. The next month, I got another bill. I called again and a new woman answered. She said that because I wasn't on the account that she had to speak with the account holder. I informed her that the account holder was dead, but she wouldn't budge. I had to make an appointment with the supervisor so she could speak to him herself in person. I showed up at the Board of Public Utilities with another death certificate, and his ashes in the clear bag that they returned his remains in. I plopped them down on the center of her desk and said, when she talked to him, tell him that I loved him for me. The woman went pale, flew out of her chair, and called the cops. When they showed up, she claimed that I had assaulted her. And yes, my dad's remains were still sitting in the middle of her desk with the death certificate. The cops questioned me as to why I would do that. I told them the story. The supervisor's boss was called in, and they all stepped away from the desk for a private talk. While they were talking, the cops came over to talk to me. They said that I shouldn't take human remains out in public, but there was no laws that were broken. I said that I agreed with them that it was extreme, but she insisted to speak with him in person. By then they were done talking between themselves. The supervisor's boss kissed up to me and got it taken care of. But the story isn't over yet. I had to call back a few days later to get utilities back to the house in my name. When the person on the phone saw the address and my name, I was immediately put on hold. The supervisor's boss that finally helped me got on the phone. She sucked up to me and waived all of the fees that come with setting up utilities. Just as the call was ending, she informed me that she was again so sorry for the employee's lack of compassion. She said that the employee was terminated, and again, she is so very sorry. 3 neighbors sitting on my car like it's a damn bench. I was rushing out of my house today when I find 3 people sitting on the trunk of my car, which is literally parked in my driveway. One I recognize as the neighborhood creep who's always outside eavesdropping on people's business every day, and who made lecherous comments about my sister when she was a teenager, and the 2 other old people I've never seen in my life. My best guess is that they were potential homebuyers for the house for sale right beside mine. I put my crap in my car as they excused themselves, saying, "Oh, sorry about that, it's just that this is the warmest spot out here." On my car? Isn't that your SUV parked in the driveway over there? Better yet, have the creep invite you to his home rather than invite yourselves to mine. I try to brush it off because I don't want to be late and they're off of my car already. Until I start shifting in reverse and see 2 of these effers now reclining on our other car, continuing their chat. I roll down the window and ask them, "Why are you on my car? Can't you go to your house or your car or literally anywhere else?" I have to repeat myself a couple times because it's in my botched, pissed off Spanish. The old people start getting agitated at me, speaking all at once, and I'm only able to make out the old hag wailing, "Excuse me, sir, but we didn't mean to offend you by sitting on your car." You're still on one of my cars. Have I lost my effing mind and this is just a perfectly normal, acceptable thing to do? They thought I was talking about the car they were sitting on, and not the car they are currently surrounding and leaning on like my property has become the town center. I was too furious to think of how to even explain the level of their absurdity in Spanish, so I drive off. In hindsight, I regret focusing on not being late, instead of making it clear to potential new neighbors my property isn't a public facility. Aggressively speed through a residential neighborhood? Now your car is wrecked and it's your fault. So this was quite a few years ago. One day my kids were skating in a quarter pipe when this truck comes around the corner with a Bubba driving, and he sees my daughter come off the quarter pipe, and instead of slowing down, he floors it and rips past my house, still accelerating while yelling something about "keep out of the road, f***ers." I yelled also, "slow down." The following weekend I'm out mowing my lawn, and I see this guy coming, so I walk out to the edge and try to wave him down to talk. And Bubba floors it again, laughing like a maniac, as he goes flying by with his engine redlining. This guy is a nut. So I go to the hardware store and pick up 3 of those 3-foot orange safety cones, and I put a sign on each one of them, "Slow down, residential neighborhood, kids at play." A few days later I come outside and find the cones have been run over. I already know who did it. I am pretty pissed off, like really angry, and in that anger I came up with my most brilliant plan. I went to the hardware store and purchased 3 new cones, along with cement and steel rebar. I filled those cones with rebar and cement and let them set. After the cones were ready, I put them back out on the side of the street by my house with the same 3 signs as before. It didn't take long. 2 days later, I'm in my garage tinkering and I hear that damn truck engine revving up as the Bubba goes pedal to the metal. I look up just in time to see his truck steer towards the shoulder to run over the cones. Damn, it was a beautiful sight like none I've ever seen before. He hit the first cone with his bumper and the cone fell forward and rotated the base up towards his engine block, and actually lifted the front of his truck upwards, as his front passenger wheel made a direct connection with the second cone and lifted his truck up even higher in the air. The third cone also made a direct hit on his right tire suspension as his truck came down to a screeching halt. There were fluids running out from under his truck and his passenger tire was angled inwards at a 90-degree angle. Bubba was pissed off and started screaming about how I wrecked his truck and how I'm gonna pay. I yelled back and said, "Well then let's call the cops and get them out here to make a report, and you can tell them how you were racing down the road and intentionally ran over the safety cones. Or I can call you a tow truck. Which will it be?" We called the tow truck. I never did see Bubba drive down the street anymore after that incident. I was worried he'd try to get revenge, but nothing ever happened, and we moved out a couple years later. Be careful what you ask for, you just might get it. I used to be a retail manager at a convenience store, and as such, I, not a morning person, would have to be at work at 5 a.m. Knowing how I myself felt about having to be awake at that hour, would do my best to be cheerful and make my customers smile by lightly joking a bit, and telling them to have a wonderful day as we finished our transactions. One morning, one of our regulars came in, and I greeted her brightly as she approached the counter. She snarled at me that she hated my cheerful demeanor and that I always told her to have a wonderful day, then demanded that I never so much as smile at her again. I apologized for my cheerfulness and told her that I would immediately and permanently comply with her wishes. I proceeded to do exactly that. From that day forward, I'd treat other customers in my normal cheerful way, but as she'd approach the counter, I'd stop smiling and bantering and drop into my natural resting bitch face. I would complete our transaction, then cheerfully turn to the next person in line and continue my banter. After about a month of this, the woman came back in at her normal time and complained about how much she hated that I wouldn't banter with her like I did the other customers, and how miserable it left her feeling all day. I reminded her of her previous demands and that she was getting exactly what she'd demanded. I also reminded her that I'd said that my lack of banter with her would be permanent. She continued to come in every morning at her usual time, and I continued to banter with the other customers, but would stop even smiling as she'd approach the counter, then turn to the next person in line and continue the banter. She continued to look miserable. Had she simply asked me to tone it down a bit or said she wasn't in the mood for banter that day, I would have adjusted accordingly. Instead, she got exactly what she asked for. Sister-in-law gets chemical burns on her face after taking and using my prescription skincare products. My husband and I bought our first home 7 months ago. His younger sister, 16, who just got her license, frequently shows up unannounced and has trouble taking no for an answer. Last Friday, she came over after dinner and asked to stay the night. We agreed since we had no plans. She asked to shower, so we let her use ours, as our guest bathroom isn't stocked yet. I splurge on salon-quality hair care products because my hair is unruly, and my $27 shampoo bottle was brand new. Later I found half the shampoo and nearly all the conditioner gone, along with my skincare scattered across the counter. She'd used almost $50 worth of hair products, and all of my skin stuff, including my prescription skincare stored in a pharmacy bag. I asked her to bring her own products next time, as I wasn't comfortable with how much she used. I was in no way rude. I just explained that I splurge on really expensive products, and can't afford to have $50+ of product gone every time she showers here. She called me selfish in a passive-aggressive way and ended up leaving. By Tuesday, her skin was red, peeling, and breaking out terribly. At dinner with my in-laws Tuesday, she blamed me for not warning her about my skincare. I explained I hadn't expected her to dig through my drawers and use prescription products, which are expensive and took my skin weeks to adjust to. My father-in-law said I should pay for a doctor visit, but my husband refused, arguing that at 16 she should know better, and that it was inappropriate for her to look through my medicine bag to even find the prescription product that was likely the culprit for the irritation. Anyway guys, that's gonna do it for today. Thank you for watching, I appreciate it. If you enjoyed, be sure to drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already for more Reddit stories. So take care and I'll see you next time.